How do I get better at double kick? At the end of this lesson, you're going to know. It's the single most common question that 99% of drummers are asking because, let's face it, it's probably one of the most impressive things a drummer can actually get good at, and sometimes we just want to be able to play things that look and sound sick. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you all of the tips and techniques that I personally use to make the double pedals do what I want them to do when I want them to do it. Let's get into it. Let's start with the sexiest thing ever, pedal settings. It's not very sexy, obviously, but it's helpful for some people to know. My pedal settings are quite straightforward. My spring tension is set to high on both sides. My pedals are at the angle that they were set out of the box. I haven't changed anything. I'm using the DW control beaters so that I can easily add weight to the beater head itself, which is awesome, by the way. It's something that I didn't know that I needed until I tried it. The beaters sit about 6 inches from the bass drum head, and the cam, that's the curved bit of the pedal that the chain rolls over, that's extended so that there's a shelf which helps launch the beater forward for more power. If you want my honest advice though, try not to get too lost in your pedal settings because it's a fairly tried and tested route to drumming misery, or at least don't get too frustrated with them because the way most pedals get delivered out of the box is pretty much ideal for most players, especially when you're getting started. I've had other professional drummers sit behind my kit and simply not be able to play what they can normally play on their kit using my pedals and settings. And similarly, I've sat behind their kits and not been able to play what I can normally play on my kit using their gear and settings. So it is a fairly subjective thing. As you get better at double kick, you'll start to recognize which pedal settings that you want to tweak. A few years ago, I noticed that on long tours, my left leg would become more capable. Basically, I'm training it 4 or 5 days a week during the live show. So to me, my left pedal started to feel a little bit light. So I thought, let's add a bit more tension with the spring setting. And just doing that helped bring my timing back in line. In the past, when I've worked one-on-one with students, if they're struggling with double kick, there's a simple test that I get them to do to help determine if it's their body or the pedal that's causing the problems. Sit down on your drum stool, but move back a little way from the kit, and with your feet on the ground, just try playing single strokes with the technique that you currently use. Just right, left, right, left, right, left, on your feet, in time with the metronome is 16th notes. Try this out for yourself, somewhere between 100 and 120 BPM. I tend to play on my tiptoes with both feet, and then I let gravity do the work to actually make the bass drum beaters hit on the head. It's the exact same technique that I taught in the previous lesson for single kick. If you can do that in time on the ground, but not on your pedal, then you should adjust your pedal settings. You need to try both loosening the spring tension and tightening it if you can. You need to adjust the beater height, possibly, the beater weight if you can do that, the angle of the pedal, the angle or steepness of the cam. Change one thing at a time and use that 16th note timing test to feel whether the adjustments have made it any easier or more difficult to play in time. This is really the only way to test what you need to do. If you can't keep time on the ground though, then we may need to address your posture, try altering the seat height, and lower the tempo to a point where you can play 16th notes comfortably, then build up this skill over time. It's just like the pedal settings. These are all variables that you need to test to feel for yourself. A really solid place to aim for though is about 100 BPM, just playing 16th notes on the ground. One more thing to note, you don't want to go too slow though. If you're going much below 100 BPM, it kind of gets into this weird, awkward world where double kick ends up kind of feeling a little bit slow and clunky, and it's not necessarily the same technique that you would use when you're playing double kick at the speeds that you probably want to play it at. So we need to determine whatever changes we need to make to your posture or to the pedal settings to make sure that 100 BPM is step one. Now, I haven't met a drummer yet who this test hasn't helped. So if you're struggling with double kick, definitely start here. Unsurprisingly, your first exercise is to play straight 16th notes to a metronome. You can increase the number of bars as your technique improves, but aim to get to 4 bars, then 6 bars, then 8 bars, and so on. When I was starting out with double kick, I found that focusing on the quarter notes, the metronome, really helped my timing, and after a while, the other notes all kind of fell into place. In the early days of training with double kick or with underdeveloped technique, it's normal for your non-dominant leg to feel more difficult to control. So don't be too hard on yourself. The exercises in this lesson will help you train up your abilities. And as an added bonus, if you try the techniques in this lesson for yourself and you don't notice improvements after 4 weeks of practice, email me and I'll help you diagnose whatever the issue is. Exercise number 2, single stroke ladders. Starting at your preferred note length, try going up and back down a simple timing ladder. And a great place to start is with 8th notes up into 16th notes and then back down. As your skills develop, you may be able to include 30-second notes as well. This is basically like interval training at the gym. You go hard for a brief period and then you back off and recover, and this one's tried and tested. Exercise 3, triplet timing ladders. So similar to the previous exercise, only we add the triplet version of the note in between each step. For example, 8th notes, 8th note triplet, 16th note, 16th note triplet, and then back down the ladder. Going up and down this is excellent to improve your timing control. Exercise 4, ultimate ladders. Perhaps visit this exercise once you've hit some of the odd timed exercises later in the masterclass, because we're going to walk up or down numbers starting at 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then back down. It's an epic challenge that helps truly unlock timing and independence. Exercise 5, right, left, right. This is dominant or non-dominant conditioning, so you can flip it. This one's superb for isolation and timing control. We play 3 notes on, then 1 note off, either as right, left, right, or left, right, left. Exercise 6, dominant conditioning version 2, a slight variation that adds a little bit more intensity to the previous exercise and makes it feel more like a progressive groove. Exercise number 7, right, left, right, left, right. This is a 5-stroke coordination, and it's a fantastic exercise for developing your control with slightly longer odd time phrases. Exercise 8, ostinatos. This short pattern uses a 2 and a 3 played in a row with a rest at the end of each number, and it presents a number of double kick patterns that require some mind to limb communication the first few attempts. Exercise 9, heel-toe triplets. So I rely on heel-toe technique when I'm playing some triplet patterns because it just makes them groove more. This might not be for everyone, but it certainly works for me, so try it out. Exercise 10, hurters, right? These sneaky little blasts on the kick are made by playing a heel-toe double stroke with a left foot in between. So it takes a while to master, but if you're trying to get your skills up to the level of something like Bleed by Meshuggah or War of Being by Tesseract, then mastering this little pattern is absolutely essential. All right. right, so there's a fantastic set of exercises to get you moving with double kick. Something to bear in mind is that as you increase tempo with double kick, you may need to consider a whole new technique as well. Because what tends to happen is that at a medium to medium high tempo, the core technique that you naturally gravitate towards, it gets you most of the way there with brute force. But to get it super fast and controlled, you need to refine that technique so that you're spending as little movement energy as possible. And instead, you control the double pedal either using your ankles or heel-toe technique, playing doubles on each foot, which seems to be the preferred option for drummers who trigger their kick drum, or swivel technique. At higher speeds, I switch to a lighter touch and I engage my ankles quite a lot more, playing on my tiptoes, and I have to ensure that I'm balanced and centered when I'm doing this. If I lean into the pedals and I force a full leg technique, that just leads to pain and injury. So be careful and mindful to relax when you're training at those higher speeds. To develop that faster technique, use the interval training. That's the best exercise. Jump up to the faster speed temporarily that you're trying to reach, then halve the note length to give your legs a little moment to recover, and then gradually increase the tempo or the period of time that you're playing at that faster note length. In the next lesson, we're going to get into 4-way limb independence, and I'll see you there.